Well, good evening and welcome to pjnet.tv. I'm your host, Coach Prasick, and I have interesting news. It has not rained here since I put the sod down about 6 weeks ago, and my water bill has gone through the sky as I've relentlessly watered the lawn. But I am here to report to you that it is raining. It is raining fiercely, and but fortunately, we have a guest tonight that comes and visits us once a month, and that would be the legend, Jake McCandless. And Jake, I'm just going to turn my microphone off here. I've got it down, because it's pouring down buckets. But I saw a picture of your studio on Facebook, and I thought, I was going to talk shop a little bit, but that is quite an impressive rig. So what I'm going to do, I know you have some things you want to talk about, but honestly, really, Jake, I'm going to just turn the mic down and let you kind of let it rip, because we got some bad rain here. You doing okay, man?
I am doing good. It's been a while since we've done this, so I'm excited about it. Yeah, well, I don't know if I want to go solo, but we'll do what we can. But yeah, appreciate that on the setup, and it, you know how it is. It's you add one piece to make something else better, and that creates all kinds of problems somewhere else, and you just got to keep adding, and trying to get it work out. And it's been one problem after another, but it's been. I'm glad I didn't get to be on the last couple of weeks because I took a new side gig. I've been coaching 8 and under softball, girls softball. My record is I'm assistant coach. I'm actually like the dugout guy. I'm trying to make sure we bat in order and get chin straps on. So that's really the extent of my gig, other than a few times I've had to fill in. Our record is however many games we've played, we've lost, and we've scored just a few runs. So I don't think that's going to make it a career on that part. But I wanted to talk about what the church past COVID, what should church look like after COVID?
Okay, I'm with you.
Yeah,
I'll with me? Jump in here now and then, but
hey, jump in. Yeah,
really. I mean, listen to that. Listen to that.
You're gonna get washed away now.
What's it?
Oh, there it goes. It died down. You turn the volume down or died down?
I'm just reducing the volume on my mic is all okay. I can do.
Yeah,
Jake, it's really bad. But you're a preacher, so go preach a little bit, and hopefully this will be over soon.
This is like the wedding I did the other day, where they come out and they said the servers need extra time. Jake, can you hold everybody there for a few minutes afterwards? And I'm like, well, I don't really have any jokes up my sleeve, to do that. But fortunately, somehow, some reason in the wedding, instead of a flower girl, that typical thing, they had a bunny rabbit doing this dance down the like someone in a bunny rabbit suit doing this dance. So this real standard wedding that just boom, this just happened, and so I had to just take everybody back and make sure I wasn't just seeing things when that happened. So yeah, so I guess I'm up the sleeve. Servers need more time. We can do it. No, and so yeah, so and so I've been sharing about every time we've been on, just giving updates about my church locally where I'm pastoring, which we replanted a church there 6 weeks before COVID came. And so we'd had a long time to build up for that, prepare a launch team, get ready, make plans, work together, just a beautiful time, beautiful thing. And then COVID happened, and we are, trying to figure out what to do. We go online for a few weeks, and we start meeting back. We think we're going to meet outside for a couple of weeks, and that was a spike in cases in our area at that point. So we met outside for over a year, an entire year. And during the winter months, we did a drive-in service. The summer, we were outside lawn service, which was beautiful. It was great for us because we're in the middle of a neighborhood, and because of some things in the past, we needed to reconnect with the neighborhood. So it was beautiful. I mean, no one has any doubts what we do at church. Everybody got to see it. So it was a beautiful time. And so just 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, we went back inside for the first time. And so we came inside, and we came inside with the mantra, we can't be the same. We can't go through this past year and not be the same. And I'd say that should be the case for all of us. I mean, we can't go through what we've gone through this past year and not be the same. I think ultimately, I think we were seeing as a good friend of mine says, a shot across the bow, a warning of what is to come. I think we look in scriptures, we see just more challenges ahead like this. And I think we look out, we see that reality around us. It may not be the first time or last time we experienced something like that. And so I think all of us need to take that as a warning and reflect on that in our churches, in our bodies, body of believers, in our organizations, in our ministries, individually. And so it's been a beautiful thing. So we came back, and the first week back in, we looked at 2 Timothy 3, verse 5, where it says, they'll have in the latter days, they'll have a form of God, but deny its power. And really challenged ourselves of, do we just appear, go do godly things and not have the power? And then we looked at Acts 2, and that's been the heartbeat since I've been in ministry, since I called it a vocational ministry at age 16, was I want to be a part of an Acts 2 type movement and feeling and church. And so everybody, to a person, because we're small, 40 folks or so, and but to a person, everybody made this commitment. Hey, we're not going to be the same. And so the next week we began a new step. And so we actually divided our small body, a church there, into 3 initial church plants. We actually have 6 in motion. Actually today, another one. So possibly 7 from just our small group, 7 other additional church plants in the area. And so we're doing a small group, and then we're following a model that's been used in missions called the disciple making movement. If you followed what's happening in Iran, I've just been absolutely just watching on the edge of my seat, trying to keep up with what's going on. There was a documentary recently some friends of mine did called Sheep Among Wolves 2, where they actually documented what is the fastest growing church and where Christianity is growing the fastest right now, which is in Iran, which is amazing, right? When we think about Iran. So Iran is completely illegal to be a Christian. There's no physical churches. There's no church with a bank account. There's none of that. Yet in Iran, Christianity is growing faster than anywhere else in the world. It's growing. A year ago, it was growing at 20%. Compared to the United States is 0.56%, 0.056%, and then the Europe's like 0.04%. And so, we're at 0.5% growth. They're seeing 20% growth where it's illegal. It's all underground, but it's all happening through this model, which this model I think was, I don't want to say first used, because it's really an attempt to try to get back to what the disciples were doing, the early church was doing. And so, but this was first revived, I think, work in India. It's made its way into Iran. And basically the principle is just simply, meeting people where they're at, building those relationships, and then working through what they call a discovery Bible study. In Iran, they're going through looking at Christ through creation, about 22 to 28 week study where they just sit down with an individual, or maybe they do it in small groups. Most of what's in Iran is individual, but other places it is small groups. And they sit down and they walk through, they read Genesis 1 about creation. Then they retell it, and then they have 4 simple questions they ask. They ask, what does this teach you about God? What does this teach you about man? They ask, from this, what's one step that you can do, that you can obey, and who somebody can share it with. And so what they're doing in the mission field is you've got people who are unbelievers who are willing to sit down through a relationship that's been built, hear and read this story. Sometimes you're reading it for the first time. Of course, many of them are Muslims. And what's crazy is, here in the West, here in America, where we're more familiar with Christianity, the stories like creation, reading that in the Bible is going to mean less to us than it's going to mean to a Muslim, because faith is everything. It's on the forefront of their minds, and they're not rejecting most of the Old Testament. And so they read that and just simply find one thing to obey from that, and then one person to tell. Then they ask to follow up, and they do that the next week. And so over time, even before someone makes a conversion, comes to Christ, they're being discipled in the truth, and also being discipled to share. And that's why it's grown so fast. Of course, that's really kind of counter a lot of things that we would think about in the United States. But So we've decided as a church, we're going to try that. We're going to do this. We're not doing 22 to 28 weeks. We're doing a 10-week study called our church as Epic Church. And so it's Dare to Live Epic, Discovery Bible Study, 10 weeks. And we're looking at Christianity being bigger than we think it is. And so we're taking that dare. If you read this and compare these passages we're looking at, that you'll see Christianity is bigger, and then dare you to do these 3 things: to read, find one thing to obey, and one person to share with. And it's been awesome. It's been amazing to see everybody buy into this and be willing to do this. We start going through our 10-week in-house, I guess, per se, this Sunday. We're going to do that for 10 weeks, and then we're going to break off. And in September, each of these church plants are going to host a 10-week study locally where they're at, and their goal is to invite enough to double that group by the time that starts. And already we've seen one group's reached their quota that we've asked them to do in the first week of asking people. And so it's been beautiful just to engage, and the way our church is, everybody comes from really different parts of the area and some different towns around. Very few live centrally where the church is, and so it's giving people a chance to do that in their context to where they are. The challenge, though, is in this Discovery Bible Study method, they simply just read the passage, no teaching, little to no commentary. If questions are asked, it's, well, let's go back to the text. Let's just look at what it exactly said. Okay, this is what it said. What's one thing to obey? And so next week, I'm going to do this just, as our service, as we walk through this 10-week initial run. I'm not going to be preaching. I'm not going to be teaching. I'm not going to be commenting. I'm just going to simply read the passage. And it's like, it makes you think, well, what's the point of a pastor then? What's the point? He's not going to preach. And think how silly, how that sounds, that we don't. And it's really, it's been a process I've had to work through to think of this challenge that we have, and just asking the text to speak for itself. Is super, super excited about giving that a whirl. And just as a church, we're just saying, hey, it's not about us teaching. It's not about us going through a program. I guess this is program-ish. I get that. But it's just simply, we're going to go to the text, and we're just going to read the text and let it work. And that sounds so basic. And then it's that part of, well, will people understand? Or, what if they understand wrong? How do you work all that? And it just really has shown me how little we trust. We say there's power in the word, but how little we trust that. How little we trust the Holy Spirit to work. So I'm looking forward to this. I can't tell you just how much it's energized us already. And so we'll have to give a report and see how we're looking as we go through this initial 10 weeks and hopefully branch off and do these groups locally.
Well, Jake, I think the rain, while still present, has substantially subsided. I'm fascinated. Well, I'll let your words speak for themselves, just as you say, the Bible, the words therein speak for themselves. Couple of personal questions. How your weight loss is stunning. How are we doing on that?
Hey, we're doing great. So I'm at whatever 82 plus 7 is, 89 pounds. And so I lost 82, and then about 2.5 months maintained that. I got to my first goal. Then it was kind of hard to push yourself after that. I had this goal, like, I can live with myself if I get to this point and surpass that. Then I had this ultimate goal that was like a dream goal. So making one last push for that. And so hitting it again. It's been awesome. It's been awesome with that. And it's been a just total surprise in my life. My wife and we're tag teaming, and we're helping others do this program we're doing. And we've helped over 60 people lose weight. About five of them have lost over 60 pounds. People's gotten off medicine, off insulin shots. Totally not anything on my radar, but it's been really cool to walk with people through this time and through that. So that's been a surprise I didn't have on my radar. You never know what the Lord has in store for you.
Yeah. Now here in Florida, Jake, we are many are celebrating spring gobbler season, and based on the trophies on your back wall, I couldn't help but think about you when I heard people talking turkeys and gobblers and such. Everything going good where you're at?
Yeah, well, no, I spent so did Arkansas turkey hunting's tough. I mean, it's really tough because it's just a few around, and I'm not that good of a caller, and so and we had some located here. When season came, they were gone. But me and my dad went up northern Missouri, almost Iowa line. We've done this a couple of times, and we spent about 3 days up there. And I tell you what, I set a record for calling turkeys in, but my decoys wasn't good enough. You know, I guess I sounded like a hot hen, but I just couldn't. Once they saw me, they ran away. It's more like real life, you know. So it was. But in Florida, so you know, there's 4 across the country, and Florida's home to the Osceola turkey. So Osceola, well, you know, can't pronounce. But anyway, so that's on my bucket list sometime to come down and do that.
Jake, I've got pictures of my father down in the Central Florida area around Orlando, where he and my uncle would go turkey hunting, and there's pictures of him, of the two of them holding, you know, a dozen turkeys. I mean,
wow.
Well, yeah, they cluster up around, I forget what they call it, but basically the watering holes. You know, they got orange groves, and it's a turkey shoot. Well, it's not like that anymore. I promise you.
Yeah, I don't imagine.
Jake, I'm fascinated by this gear in your studio. And while I enjoy talking shop, and I don't want to annoy people with a bunch of jargon and tech talk, but I do want to touch on the subject because I was recently contacted for some advice for podcasters with regard to gear. And I think we need to pay some attention to that because more and more ministry, whether you're a professional like yourself or just a layperson like myself, more and more we're having opportunities to participate in Zoom meetings, online events, and things like that. So tell us about your setup there and offer any advice you could for Christians out there that are looking to up their game.
Yeah, well, you know, I really think it starts anteing up and getting all the upload that you can get on the internet. That's something that when I first started, that was really bad. I had decent, you know, down speed, but I didn't have much up speed. And so, I mean, that's I think it's everybody's struggle. And so that was something really had to invest in. And then the next thing was my computer hardware itself was a problem. It couldn't keep up. Like, you know, computer's not all that. And so that was an issue. And just recently got that solved. Got a device called an A-Team Mini Pro from Blackmagic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean it is seriously magic. And I'm just using it basically it does the encoding, all that stuff outside your computer, so you're not not lagging that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But if you know, but then that opened a whole nother thing. So you use a DSLR and have one. Sony makes one
that's
that
a camera, folks.
Doesn't. Yeah. And Sony makes one. It doesn't. It doesn't overheat. You can run it continuously, which that's a tough thing on those type of cameras. So the camera was good, but I couldn't get the audio good. And I had a good mic because I was using that for podcasting. And so I've tried a lot of different things trying to get it transitioning from an XLR that needs
Canon type. Yep, I know.
Yeah, that type mic, and then trying to get it.
Yeah, and the phantom power issues. We're getting real technical here, folks, and I love it, but I apologize. Jake, apparently you are using DSL, as I am. It's the only game in town. There is no cable company, so your upload speed suffers. Have you heard of bonded DSL?
No.
Okay, bonded DSL, think of it as two DSL lines combined into one. You literally have, and it's usually only about a $10 upcharge, and you have to change your router. Now, if you need a router, I've actually got one, so I'm sure I can make you a deal. But what's even better, is you can get multiple bonded DSLs. So DSL, let's say my DSL here is $55, and that only gives you like 3 megs or meg and a half of upload, whatever. But you can get a bonded DSL that gives you like 4 to 5 megs of upload. Which now we're getting close to video quality. Now, so then you get a second bonded DSL, but you can't bond 2 bonded DSLs, can you? Spotify.com. Spotify.com is a cloud-based bonding service whereby you can make heterogeneous connections. You can be connected to Wi-Fi on one DSL and direct connect on the other, and it will manage the balancing and synchronization of everything. It's like $10 a month. I mean,
Wow.
for up to 5 connections. So I have 5.
That's incredible. Whoa.
5
That's
DSL lines. Okay. And I don't like
That's
doing
incredible.
that because it's an expensive solution, but it's the
Right.
only, well, no, not the only
Yeah.
solution. It's the only solution for less than getting fiber in, which
Yeah.
is outrageous. We will eventually be forced to go that way. But until then, so call your phone company and ask for, because you're not the only one facing this problem. If you're using
Yeah.
DSL, your download speed is sufficient, but when you're trying to broadcast a video signal, you don't have enough bandwidth. So
Yep.
if you'll call your phone company and ask to be upgraded to a bonded DSL, which is really 2 DSL lines acting together, and it's bonded back at the phone company. It's not something you do. That is usually only about $10 more per month, and it will double your
Incredible.
upload speed just like that. So
That's incredible. That's a good note, because I mean that's really all. That comes down to that. I mean, ultimately.
yeah.
And then everything else is bonus, I think.
Yeah. All right. Well, Jake, we're out of time. I'm glad to hear that your church is doing 2 things. One, not only surviving but thriving through the
Well,
pandemic, but
right.
also discipling and multiplying. And this is relief for a world that's very much hurting. And we appreciate you coming on and share. I don't know where the time went, but I just sat here and listened to it rain outside, and it's still pouring, but not quite. Also, if you're doing audio, if you don't have any choice, do like I did and get a 10 utility building. But there is a downside. But Jake, I appreciate you sharing with us, brother, and hopefully that
Absolutely.
baseball team or softball team or soccer. What is it? Soccer, baseball that's losing.
Softball, yeah.
Softball.
Hey, we had our best game last week, so it's all uphill from here.
Right, because you were supposed to be gone
We're
this
not.
week at some tournament, but
The
you didn't
Phantom
qualify.
tournament, I think. Yeah.
yeah, the tournament that never happened. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, hey, Jake, appreciate you sharing with us, and hey, give us an update next month. We can't wait to hear more.
Absolutely. Sounds good.
You're the man. Thank you, Jake. All right, Jake McCandless, once a month on the, what is this, the second Tuesday? Does that sound about right? Yeah, second Tuesday of every month. He is right. Oh, you know what you're looking at? You are directly above the Eagle's Nest, the broadcast facilities here at pjnet.tv. And we are wrapping up this segment, but don't go anywhere, because at the bottom of the hour, we are going to have Terry Palmer back, and he hasn't been here in about a year. But until that time, I got to do some changes here in the studio and move. I got to move from studio. We're in studio 18. I've got to move down to studio 12, about 6 floors down. Okay. 2 questions I'd like you to ask yourself, please. What's the boldest thing that you've ever done for Jesus Christ? And the second question is, well, when was that? I certainly hope that none of us will be satisfied with either.